All right, we're back another Sunday. We're on our Black Media. This is the Political Spectrum. We got Dante on the line, and we got myself right here. How's it going, Dante?
Everything is going well on my end. I'm happy that the DNC convention is finally behind us. Now it's time for the real work of actually campaigning.
Yeah.
Um, and let's see what both candidates are going to do. I think the media is also getting tired of Kamala Harris running from them. So now it's really time to both people to put their vision forward, and let's see who's going to win. Um, I think it's going to come down to electoral college votes, as it always does. No one cares about the popular votes. So I think Trump has a stronger chance in winning that.
Well, I think. Well, go dogs. This is what I'm wearing today. I think you're going to be surprised, like Florida State was in Ireland yesterday, and I think we're going to see Kamala Harris equals Georgia Tech, Trump equals Florida State. But it's funny you should bring that up. It's funny you should bring that up. Let's just compare, just for ish and giggles. Let's just play this really quick. Just let the viewers see the different energy levels. Hold tight. Here we go.
We want to remind all our delegates, our alternates, and guests that maintaining order during the roll call is extremely important.
It is our honor to cast 31 votes for our next president, Donald J. Trump.
If the convention is not in order, it's difficult for the secretary or presiding officer to hear the vote announcement.
Georgia, how do you cast your vote?
Yeah! Ladies and gentlemen, we are here tonight to officially nominate Kamala Harris for president. Fire, get loud, another round of shots. DNC, turn out for what?
In the spirit of good trouble, Georgia cast 123 votes for the next president of the United States, Kamala Harris.
Wyoming, the cowboy state, is Trump country. We've supplied the highest margin of victory for President Trump in both 2016 and 2020. And with that, Wyoming, the cowboy state, casts all of its 29 delegates for President Donald J. Trump.
We are honored to be representing the great state of Wyoming. Both the first state and territory in this nation to recognize a woman's right to vote, and the state that 100 years ago elected Democrat Nellie Taylor Ross, our nation's first female governor. With that legacy in mind and heart, the Equality State cast all of our votes for the woman who will be the first woman president of the United States. Say it with me now, Kamala Harris!
There's nothing pro-life about letting women suffer and even die.
So I mean, now the young people say the vibe. The vibe was just very different. I'll just say the vibe was different. And I will offer this much here. At first, and I was all about the women's this whole abortion piece and with the election, but it's showing up in a very different way. But I will say, I know we've texted about this in our small group throughout the week, but the energy and the speech she gave was just eloquently. I've never seen Vice President Harris so powerful, so poised, and just she couldn't have been more perfect than she was. I mean, I think, it's going to be very difficult for, Trump to catch up, in my opinion. As a matter of fact, I want to get your opinion on that, but I also want to play the awkward moment when J.D. Vance goes into the donut shop and acting like a 2-year-old kid. But I'm going to let you kind of comment real quick.
So I'll say this. In regards to the two conventions, so yes, the Republican convention was a little bit more traditional, and you had your Democratic convention that was very Hollywood centric. So I get that. I think Kamala Harris did a wonderful speech. And I'm happy to hear you say that she did a wonderful speech, because earlier this year in 2024, you didn't think too fond of Kamala Harris, but it wasn't just you. It was also the entire Democratic Party. Bringing out Little John just to turn down and get low. Well, when people look at their bank account, that's exactly what they feel like. It's turning down and it's getting low. So you can bring out all the celebrities that you want. It's not going to make people feel good. It's not going to make them feel joy about it. And, one day I really do want to see a woman president. I do. But I think when people get into that ballot box, it just won't be Kamala Harris.
I don't know. We're on our first 10. So everybody who's watching for the first time, this is our first 10. We always start with, was hot on the spot. So, but I want to talk about this right here. Y'all want to talk about awkward? This is the most awkward thing I've ever seen in my life. But let's hit play. Hold on. Let me get my mute. Let me get my sound on.
Oh yeah, I saw this.
So the sound isn't playing. I don't know what's going on here.
You need the sound for this.
Yeah, I was confused. Here we go. Let's shout out to Valdosta.
Perfecting your swing is.
We're not going to play. We're not going to support this particular commercial, but shout out to Valdosta. All right, here we go.
Good. The zoo has come to town. Thank you for letting us come in here.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. It looks like is everybody else in here? All right, one of the few. Okay. I'm Big Dance. I'm the vice president. Good to see you.
Okay.
Random silver and stuff.
Beginning of July.
Okay.
For this year.
Okay. Yeah. How much you, sir?
Almost 2 years.
Okay. Good. How long?
Everything.
Just everything. Yeah, a lot of glaze, cinnamon rolls, just whatever makes sense.
Ma'am, if you don't want to be on film, you're good.
Ma'am.
If you don't want to be on film, you're okay.
Yeah. How long has this place been around?
About 4 years.
About 4 years? Okay. How long have you been here?
A little over 6 months.
Okay, good. This place, I didn't know if it had been here for 20 years or 4 years or anything. I never know. Sometimes you drop in.
This is a whole story.
That was painful. Well,
It really was.
What's going on?
I mean, that is the definition of waste of money. Why did you even send him? I just want to know why the campaign even sent him to that donut shop. Like, for real, what was the end goal besides making him look like a fool, which he did accomplish? They should have at least, had it right. It is so easy and this is pissing me off about the Trump campaign. You can beat Kamala Harris. The only thing you have to do at this point is just get in front of a bunch of cameras and start talking. She ain't doing it. So JD Vance, the only thing he had to do was just go to the local media, have a little town hall, have a little empty chair, and just make fun of Kamala Harris doing something that she's not doing. But you go to a donut shop and look like, I can't even say what I want to say because it might come off racist, but he looked like a fool. I don't know. That's my comment on it, and I don't know. And of course, the lady don't know. I don't even blame the representatives. But who are you? You ain't Trump. Like, she would have known.
Well, and in those types of moments, that honestly, I blame his staff. If I'm JD, I'm pissed because the staff should have went in there. And, this is a guy who's about to run for VP or something.
They should have did the Kamala Harris, right? Screen people. Got it.
No, you gotta. And I'll be real. The average voter in rural areas may not be aware of who these people are, even if it was Kamala. They may not be aware. You know what I'm saying? Barack Obama might walk in. Somebody may not be. Everybody's not tuned in to the news or to political things. And so, you just want to prep people to say, hey, you know who's coming in. You see all these people around. They may have been startled, like, are we about to get raided? You just don't know what people are doing. I mean, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, I would have been blown. I was like, bro, for real, y'all. I just had me going down, order donuts. I didn't know how many donuts to order. These people trumping me, and then they don't want to be on camera. Y'all make sure she ain't on camera. Like, I would have been so blown.
Listen, now that I think about it, you are absolutely right, because Brunswick ain't nothing but a skipping away from Valdosta. And some of them black people see people coming there with gun stuff like, hold on, what's going on?
Hey, what's going on here?
Right? There's a
How
lot
y'all
of white
looking
people with guns.
at- what the hell going on? All right. All right, we're gonna go see a few messages and we'll be right back.
Oh, I mean, my friend, your Savannah homeboy, Clarence Thomas, made sure that I don't go to prison.
So Julius is in there talking to Trump. Ooh, I'm telling.
Need your garments cleaned with care and with a professional touch? Then bring them to One Price Cleaners in Garden City at the Old Farmers Market on Highway 80. Service you can count on.
All right, we're back. And so, before we get into this whole educational piece, this week we'll talk about the different branches of government. I know, Dante, let's just uncover one piece of legislation that we talk about, and this is really important to people, and that's the economic conversation, right? So let's compare by candidate. And I'm going to tell you all of us use different references. Let me make sure you all can see this and you all don't. I wanted to pull one that wasn't more so a video. This is from the Tax Foundation. So where did the candidates stand on policy, right? Tax policy has become a significant focus of the election. And so let's just see what we got right here. So I'll go through, what we got here for Kamala, and then we'll kind of compare it to Trump. But Harris has announced her new tax and economic policy, which is opportunity economy, exempting tip income from taxation, expanding the child tax credit, earned income tax credit, and premium tax credits, implementing new tax incentives for housing, and continue the same policies put forth in the 2025 budget of the current administration, or may propose additional tax policy changes. Ultimately, as we saw at the convention, her conversation is around building out and building a stronger middle class, which means less taxes on the middle class and more taxes on those of us who earn a certain level of amount. So basically, you're millionaires, you're 1% of people who are extremely wealthy. Trump would impose a universal baseline tariff on all U.S. imports, impose a 60% tariff on all U.S. imports from China, make individual and estate tax cuts for TCJA permanent, lower our corporate income tax rate from 21 to 20%, tax large private university endowments, consider replacing the income tax with tariffs, exempt tip income from taxation, and exempt Social Security benefits from taxation. Trump is considering expanding the child tax credit to a $5,000 universal credit. The biggest thing that my personal takeaway with this one is Trump will tax more on the middle class and less on corporate, which I have an issue with. I believe that corporations and the wealthy should see more taxation. That's just my opinion. If it makes sense. Honestly, my whole idea with Reagan created this mess. Reagan created this mess with the trickle-down theory. And it makes no sense to me that I give you a whole bunch of money as a person who owns a business or a wealthy person, and in my brain, it's going to somehow trickle down to the working class. That's silly to me. But this is what we have. What are your thoughts on it?
So one thing, I'll start with the child tax credit. That's something that Trump had already done in his last administration. I think that doesn't get talked about as much. We can say the amount was low, but that's something that he has already done, which is why he is now talking about increasing it to the 5,000 that you did see. When it comes to Trump's tax plan, I think people should take the time to actually go read his tax plan. It is correct to say that the top 1% did get a tax cut. That is absolutely correct. Trump tax plan actually created a 7-tier system of earners, from your top earners all the way down to your 1%, pretty much. And I mean 1% at the bottom.
Right.
So tier 6 and 1 did not get a tax cut. 7, 5, 4, 3, and 2 did get a tax cut. And if you fell within the lines between, I think it was 11,000 something to $47,000, guess what? Trump cut your taxes. So there is a fair debate to say, the top 1% did get a tax cut, but a lot of people did get a tax cut, which is why the economy was doing good under Trump. We can talk about the tariffs. I think that's a fair argument to have, but people need to understand the reason why he's having this argument. And we have to have a strong man mentality or a strong woman mentality if Kamala Harris does win the presidency. We need to have a very strong mentality when dealing with China. They have been taking advantage of us for a very long time. And the only way that they respond to strength, not weakness, which is what they're doing right now when it comes to Joe Biden. They have jets flying over Alaska, almost shooting the middle finger at us. So, I mean, there's a fair debate when we talk about Trump's plan of tariffs. I think that's fair, but we need to figure out something to do, and the tariffs was working. On the back end, it also was hurting people at the grocery stores and products that they buy. So again, that's a fair conversation too. All in all, we can sit here and talk about these plans and do our research, but I mean, people, you actually lived through this yourself. This is not 20 or 50 years ago. We're comparing 4 years of Trump's presidency versus what you're currently living in right now. And you can literally ask yourself, how was you feeling 4 years ago versus right now? Take the man out of it, because that's what the media and everybody want to focus on. The white man from New York City that everybody ever held a grudge against a white man on earth, now hold that anger towards Donald Trump. This is not how this works.
Well, somebody posted this morning. When people ask if we are better off today than 4 years ago, I remind them that 4 years ago we were using freezer trucks as morgues. I'm just saying. I'm saying.
I don't have anything to say to that, but that is fair. That is a fair conversation. I'm someone who will always critique Trump and Biden when it comes to COVID, because both presidents did handle COVID. They did. So I think Trump has some fair critique to go around. And I also think, instead of us trying to attack Trump at the top, which is fair, we also need to attack some of these local governors who are doing their own things as well. Because, Florida, Georgia, and Texas, notice, they kept their state open and was booming and doing well.
It's an interesting conversation. We
need to have a fair conversation, and the problem we
have. And I will say this, and I'm going to.
When you say fair, what do you mean? Because we have yet to our U.S. government cannot answer the question of the origins of COVID. Instead of the news really trying to attack Donald Trump on everything, that should be a serious question that we should be asking the government, because American citizens did die, and supposedly another country released a biological weapon, which could have been Resident Evil, Walking Dead.
You ain't lying.
But for some certain reason, we all worried about Donald Trump having sex with Stormy Daniels or Johnny Depp marriage with that other lady, Amber Heard. We focused on that stupid stuff, but we're not focused on, did China really release a weapon on this earth? Come on.
Well, I will say this, and this is across the board, which is very problematic in my opinion, and that's there's not a lot of working across the aisle and having real conversations about these things. I think both sides have fair conversations when it comes to these policies, right? Even with capital gains, I think there's some work to do around capital gains. The one thing I was proud to hear from Vice President Harris is her idea to build out wealth in the middle class, right? And so this whole idea of the tax credit, the incentive to buy homes, where she will supply $25,000 for your first time homeowners down payment, making sure that we put homes and address the affordable housing crisis. That's important. That has been your bread and butter of the middle class for years, is home ownership. Now, the one thing I think is fair is to say is if you have that piece, you build out the middle class, you build in these tariffs, you look at the corporate gains and all of that, I think you have a fair way of saying, you know what, we can really build back. What we have seen, though, a lot of is us versus them instead of a compromise and building out a win-win system that's going to be beneficial for the American people. That's what I would like to see instead of this us versus them. That's where I am with it.
So I would love to hear both candidates talk more about affordable housing, because I do agree with you. It is the bread and butter of the middle class. So I like Kamala Harris' idea, and that's all that I think that it is. I don't think it can be anything put in reality, because if you do that, I'm pretty sure the developers will find some way to add that $25,000 back to where the customer has to pay for it anyway. So, and even Democrats are coming on national media. I mean, that's just a wishful thinking. That's something that's not going to actually happen. And that's just giving people something to hope for that's not going to come into fruition. I do think both candidates need to have a serious conversation about affordable housing and how to make it attainable for people, and not just where people can rent, where people can actually own their own home, and none of this secret shadow companies that's buying up all these properties in the United States of America that no one's really talking about. It's three companies that just keep buying up all these houses everywhere. The government really needs to look into that and not do business with those developers or companies. But we do need to have a conversation about it, and no fairy tale wishful thinking that's not going to happen.
Yeah, that is going to be interesting. Well, we're going to step away for another quick little break, and we'll be right back.
Why did you decide to dress like this today? This is not even your flag that you're wearing.
You like it? I dressed for Memorial Day.
Sweetheart, it is not Memorial Day. It is Independence Day.
I didn't care too much for that movie. I think Men in Black was better.
You know what? Never mind.
Why aren't you dressed in your American clothes?
I'm not a patriotic person.
It is not what you do for your country. It is what you did with your country. Wait, was that right?
Yes, that was actually perfect. I can tell you've been watching that Captain America After Dark show.
It is Mr. America After Dark. If you look for that guy trouble, he will give you double.
He actually has enough trouble of his own. This guy goes to the clubs at night, committing all kind of financial sins.
It's a lie. My God will punish you.
And then Mr. Murray, from that Financial Sins show, he liked to dress up as the Money Mantis. And then he goes right in the club after him and takes him down for those financial sins that he be committing.
Thunder fire you.
I'm Patty Hewitt, and I'm worried about our future.
Last one?
I think about my grandkids and the belief that they deserve every opportunity. And what you deserve, what Coastal Georgia deserves, is someone who cares more about their community than about corporate profits and big pharma.
I'll see you later.
All right, thank you. Small business owners and hardworking Georgians are the heart of our community.
Good day.
Not CEOs, not lobbyists, not shareholders. But who's taking care of them? It's time to ask yourself, what do you want from your government? This is our year to stand up against what we know is wrong. No more DC politicians invading our home life. No more racism that kills dreams and spreads violence. And no more corporate greed at the expense of workers' rights and our environment.
So what would be the most meaningful help to you?
I've spent the last 8 years working behind the scenes, mobilizing our communities for positive change. And while that is really important work, I can't stand by and allow the same tired politicians to run this country, the same ones who've neglected the real needs of Georgians. I'm ready to take our seat in Congress so I can fight for you and your families.
I vote for you.
Thank you, my darling. I love you. This isn't about party lines. This is about voting for a better future for more Georgians. Enough is enough.
All right, we're back. And like I say every week, you all, we're not endorsing any particular candidate. All candidates, regardless of affiliation or party, may advertise on this platform. So if you want to do that, you contact Julius Hall. But we do not endorse candidates. We're just paying the bill by playing the ads that they pay for. So,
hey, quick question. So Bernard has a show called America After Dark.
Yes.
So is that him smoking a cigar, cussing, and drinking whiskey about America?
Now, I can't speak to that. You're going to tune in every Saturday at 10 o'clock. They might have you on there. But really quick, let's play this. You know, part of the underpinning of this show, you all, is to educate people on voting and what it means to vote and all the pieces that are pertaining to that. And so let's start with the power of the president so people have an understanding of what it is that the president does, because I don't think people always really understand that. So let's play this really quick.
The President of the United States is often described as the most powerful person in the world. The person who occupies the Oval Office represents a population of more than 320 million people and oversees the world's largest economy. As Commander-in-Chief, the President commands all 5 branches of the U.S. Armed Forces and a military budget that tops $580 billion annually. The President decides where troops are stationed, where ships are sent, and how weapons will be used. 886 generals and admirals take their orders from the President, along with some 1.4 million active frontline military personnel and 1.1 million active reserves. The President is the only person who can access the secret codes necessary to launch a nuclear attack, and is effectively responsible for more than 4,500 active and inactive nuclear warheads in the U.S. arsenal. The U.S. gives nearly $50 billion in foreign aid to more than 180 countries around the world. That's the president's job as well. The U.S. has collective defense agreements with 54 nations and legally conducts surveillance in 193 countries. The president has the power to veto laws passed by Congress and can pardon anyone of any federal crime, except impeachment. The president can designate land for national monuments and parks and appoints cabinet members, diplomats, and federal judges, all the way up to the Supreme Court. You might think the president's job is the most important job in the world, but it's not. The most important job is deciding who holds all that power. The most important job is yours. Make history. Vote.
I don't think they mentioned this, but the president has so many other authorities and powers. One of those is selecting Supreme Court justices. But the one power I will say that I think George Bush demonstrated in our lifetime is the ability to formulate and create agencies, federal agencies such as Homeland Security, which was under the GW. And so the one thing I do have a concern about, and I understand and I struggle with, Trump did speak on this, was the elimination of the Department of Education, which I'm 50-50 on that one. What's your thoughts on that?
So a couple of things. That video, I think that video was very informative. There's actually 6 branches, not 5. Trump did add the Space Force.
That's right, the Space Force. That's right.
Can't forget about that. I do agree with you, George Bush, Homeland Security. I'm not a big fan of big government. I think that was a little bit overreaching, but of course they use the war as an end to that means. When it comes to, I'm sorry, what was the question you asked me about?
So, I think another conversation now that Trump has talked about with the elimination of education.
So I'm not for eliminating it. I do think we should have a conversation about it and reform to see what is working. I'm not somebody who say we should throw money at the problem, but we do need to have a conversation and talk about reform. I think just automatically gutting it that's a knee-jerk reaction, and we're not thinking about poor people who might be really affected by that. But we need to have a conversation about the Department of Education, really, because it seems more political than anything.
No, I totally
at times, and that's even when a Republican is in office or a Democrat.
No, and I totally agree with you. I think this is one, that's how Homeland Security was created. Like you said, it's very knee-jerk reaction. We got to do something instead of putting the people in the room who run the committees who, a lot of times it would be good to have the committee chairman and the people in the committees in the room and governors and people at different levels having a conversation on both sides of the aisle and having real conversations, because I think there's benefits to all agencies, but there's also deficits. One of the agencies I don't really see the need for, honestly, is Homeland Security. Like you said, I think Homeland Security could have been an easy addition to a department that existed as an associate branch, right? So you have your military branch. Why not make that as a one-off of, your military branches? I'll give that to your reserves. I don't know, but I think, like you said, we pour money into problems and we still haven't resolved the problem, which is terrorism. And so, I don't think our government always takes the right look at things. A lot of times it's like you said, let's throw money at the problem, let's knee-jerk, let's make a feel good, put this Band-Aid on it, but the bleeding continues.
Right.
Yeah. So, and
hopefully we will have a president that, and I'm not even talking about the two that's running for president right now. I'm just talking about someone in the near future that will have a conversation with the American people and really say, we're going to have to cut a lot of things across the line within our budget. And guess what? Military is going to have to be one of them. Some of the social program is going to have to be one of them. Education is going to have to be one of them, because we're going to have to really talk about our deficit. That is a serious conversation that we're going to have. And if we keep trying to kick this down the curve, we won't have a country after a while.
Well, yeah. Well, we see all of the land and the real estate is being bought by different countries, and somewhere
right
where China bought up some. I was like, what the hell? What? Like,
what boggles my mind is the fact that they can do that, and our government is really allowing them to do that, and even some Republican governors are allowing them to just up and buy and do that. I wish that China would allow us to do so much of the things that they do over there.
Right. Well, Dante Clinton has hopped on. How you doing, Clinton?
Never forgotten.
That's fine. We're going to step away for a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the branches of government. We just got through talking about the powers of the presidency and different agencies and the agencies that are crazy and all that. But before we go to the break, we'll do that. We were talking about how GW brought on the Homeland Security conversation. He brought on that division. Trump brought on the Space Force. And now Trump is speaking on eliminating the Department of Education. And I think Dante and I both are like, we're 50-50 on it. We really don't know how you feel about it, but what are your thoughts on that, on the whole elimination of the Department of Education?
Get rid of it. It hasn't even remotely fulfilled its mandate or mission statement. Not only that, I think we need to set up educational systems statewide that compete with one another, like we do in sports. And the only people that will benefit from that will be the students. And I think teachers should act like, professional athletes. You give a contract based upon your performance. We don't care about your seniority. We don't care about your reputation. And if you're discovered to be cheating on the test scores to make your performance look better, you're out, just like in sports. I think we need to make it more competitive and set it up very similar to how we have sports in America. And the only people that will benefit from that type of competition will be the students. And they need it. And we need to stop, how can I say, we need to start offering tutoring to those who are struggling rather than a grade they didn't earn. I know getting an F is devastating. I know failing in any capacity is devastating. But when you lower test scores or you make the test easy, you're only hurting that person in the long run. Offer them tutoring and give incentives for teachers to deliver free tutoring when school is over, just like we do in sports. Incentives on their contract, and their contract should be based upon how well they perform. We'll get into this later.
No, and you made me think about something, and I totally agree with this part here in that I lost my train of thought, but right now I think standardized testing, that's where it was. I can't stand standardized testing. I think the SAT, the ACT, all of that is a bunch of garbage.
Yeah.
It doesn't measure anything. And honestly, I've heard of and seen, students who cannot pass the standardized test but are brilliant.
Well,
I hate those things.
We need to learn to change the method of instruction when we educate these new teachers. We need to teach them the standardized format, but then make it apply. Look, this doesn't work for everyone. You need to learn to adapt and to change your method and instruction and testing based upon those students that fit outside the lines. This is how they used to do it. Now, this is how you're going to do it now. You need to learn to adapt. When you find people that don't perform well in a standardized testing format, you design a form of examination that fits them, that can ascertain what they absorb and what they haven't outside the normal parameters. We keep thinking one size fits all. No, I'm sorry, that's not the way life works.
Yeah, I agree.
That's true. That's true. All right, you all, we're going to take a quick step away and we'll be right back.
Hey there. Are you ready to amplify your voice and embrace your passion? Tune in to Our Black Media Network, where community comes first and every story matters. We're here 24/7, delivering powerful content on everything from financial literacy to the latest in sports and mental health. We are unapologetically real, reflecting the heartbeat of our community with programs that inspire, empower, and drive change. Join us on all major media platforms to celebrate our unique voices and advocate for the change we want to see. With over 50K monthly viewers, our network is your go-to destination for authentic, engaging content. Be a part of the movement. Be a part of the change. Tune in to Our Black Media Network today and let your voice be heard.
See, that's why I like the Rebel. They actually made an excellent point. You women do need to start sharing your husbands. It'll make the world a better place once y'all realize that.
Out of everything they talk about tonight, that is the only thing you remember.
There are 8 billion people on this planet. 6 billion are women, 2 billion are men. So if you do the math, that is 3 women for every man. The scale has to be balanced, and polygamy is the perfect balance.
One man and one woman is all the balance that's needed.
Okay, think about this. If I had 4 women, you be my front woman, right? If I had a side chick, I would have to at least get one for the other side because there's 2 sides. And I would have to have one behind me. That's the backup chick. Just in case one falls off at the side, you always got to have that backup.
I am the only queen in your kingdom. Don't get any ideas, Zoo.
Now, all I'm saying is you should at least think about this.
My God will judge you.
Fine. One woman is all that's needed. But if you're going to keep doing this, we ain't going to be watching the Rebel together no more.
All right, we're back. So you all, let's take a look at, today we're talking a lot about the educational piece of this thing and what it means to vote. But let's take a look at the three branches of government, and we'll talk about that.
Did you know there was a time in our colonial history when we didn't have a president? Before we became the United States, we had a king who had all the power. The American Revolution changed all that. And when it was over in 1783, America needed to create a government. The founders had to work out what to do next. First, they wrote a set of rules called the Articles of Confederation. But these rules were not strong or detailed enough. So, in 1787, the founders wrote the Constitution to create a system of government separated into three parts, like branches on a tree. They started with the legislative branch, also called Congress, whose job it is to make new laws. Congress has two parts, called houses, the Senate and the House of Representatives, made up of people who were elected by the citizens of their state. Next, the country needed a leader, but the founders did not want another king. So, they set up the executive branch to be led by a president, elected by the people. George Washington was the first president of the United States. The president is helped by the vice president and a group of people called the cabinet. Their job is to help the president make decisions. On November 26, 1791, George Washington held the first ever cabinet meeting with just 4 members. And finally, the founders created the judicial branch. It is made up of a system of courts set up to review laws and settle conflicts. The highest court of all is the Supreme Court, made up of judges called justices. At first, they were all white men, but now it's a mix of men and women from different backgrounds. The Supreme Court decides if the laws created by Congress and the actions of the executive branch are constitutional. That means they follow the Constitution. The founders were pretty smart. By dividing up the government into different branches, no one branch had total power or control. It's a system called checks and balances, making sure the government is fair and representative of all American people. Why do you think having a system with checks and balances is important?
All right, and before we get into the conversation, you all, that kind of gave us, and this goes back to what I was thinking about a couple weeks ago when Dante said, if Trump is elected, he doesn't get we have safeguards. So this is going to talk about, okay, so we got the 3 branches of government. Let's talk about checks and balances. So let's play that really quick.
All right.
Here we go. We're going to play this last one.
The United States uses what is called checks and balances in its government. Checks and balances means that not one person or institution in the federal government of the United States holds all the power. Instead, the power is shared by 3 branches of government, known as the legislative branch, the executive branch, and the judicial branch. The system of checks and balances was created because the founders had fears that a national government with too much power would turn into a tyrannical one. The legislative branch, also known as Congress, consists of both the House and the Senate. The House is comprised of 435 members, while the Senate is comprised of 2 members per state, therefore giving a total of 100 members. The main job of Congress is to make America's laws. In order for Congress to pass a law, both the House and the Senate have to vote in favor of the bill. However, in order for the bill to officially become a law, the president must then sign it into law. The executive branch consists of the President of the United States along with the Vice President and executive departments. The President's job is to make sure laws are carried out and enforced as well as being the Commander-in-Chief of the United States. The judicial branch consists of the Supreme Court, which is comprised of 9 members. Their job is to interpret laws passed by Congress according to the Constitution. Though each of these branches have their own roles, each institution has a way of keeping the other in check. Let's take the legislative branch, for example. Though the job of making laws is given to Congress, a law that has been passed by both the House and the Senate then has to go to the President, who decides whether or not to sign the bill into law or veto it. When a president vetoes a bill, it then goes back to Congress, and if Congress votes on the bill again and both houses vote 2/3 majority in favor of the bill, it then becomes law despite the president's veto. Here we see an example of the president checking Congress and Congress checking the president. Now we move on to the executive branch. As I previously stated, the president is the commander-in-chief. However, despite the president having control over the armed forces, it is up to Congress to declare war. Congress also has the power to check the president via impeachment. In order to impeach a president, the House must first vote to impeach the president by a simple majority. Impeachment, however, is just formally charging the president of a crime. In order to then convict and remove a president, the Senate has to vote 2/3 in favor of convicting the president to remove him from office. Lastly, the judicial branch is made up of the Supreme Court. In order to become a member of the Supreme Court, the president picks the nominees, which the Senate then votes whether to confirm the nominee or not. The members of the Supreme Court can then interpret laws passed by Congress according to the Constitution via a process known as judicial review. If the Supreme Court interprets a law as unconstitutional, it can then strike down a law passed by Congress. Congress also has the power to impeach Supreme Court justices. All things considered, this system allows all three branches of government to check on each other while keeping the balance of power. Political Minute out.
All right. What's your reactions, Clinton? Then Dante?
Things have changed. Number one, we have never been a democracy. We're a Democrat republic. Number two, over the last, I'm just going to guess, 120, 140 years, the legislative branch has been working on reducing the power of the executive branch. The executive branch does not hold nearly the power that it held back when it was first created with George Washington. Also, population can be manipulated in order to give more representatives, or shall we say, people in Congress in the House of Representatives. There's a lot of games being played and power plays in our government now to give one branch out of the three more power than the other. At the moment, in my opinion, the legislative branch, Congress, has the most power out of the three branches. At one point in time, they were all equal. That time's gone. As far as the Supreme Court, the judges are supposed to serve a lifetime, and they're always supposed to interpret the laws that are passed by Congress and the executive branch. Nothing more. But yet people have assumed that the Supreme Court can pretty much make law. No, they interpret where a law is legitimate or not. That's really all they can do. Your input.
All right, Dante, your reaction?
So I agree with everything that Clint said, but I think he meant that we are a constitutional republic.
Correct.
Yeah, that's what we are. So Clint is absolutely right about the Supreme Court. I'm going to actually start there. The Supreme Court job is not to write law, and a lot of people are not educated on exactly what they are there to do. And it's being really hyped up by, or orchestrated, I should say, by people that just want to remove certain Supreme Court justices from the bench and put someone that they prefer in. When it comes to Congress, Clinton is absolutely right. They hold the most power. They hold more power than the president. The problem as of late, in my opinion, and some people in my party might be upset that I say this, but it really starts back in the Tea Party, where a lot of extreme people just really started to run for office. And I mean extreme people on both sides, Republican and Democrat. And there was an audience that started to elect these people. And the reason I'm calling these people extreme is because they get to Washington, D.C., and their favorite word is no. They're not trying to reach across the aisle to figure out how to work on issues. We're not going to agree on everything, but there is some things that could be agreed upon. And some of them, as of lately, are really just going to Congress just to be a social media influencer.
I'd like to point out something as well. Too many bills are being introduced that have pork. And we all know pork is a fancy slang term for adding things in the bill that have nothing to do with the bill. because they know they can't get those things passed legitimately.
Right.
So they throw them in a bill that has nothing to do with that subject matter. And then when the bill doesn't pass, they go, oh, they didn't pass this bill because of this and that. No, they didn't pass it because you included irrelevant stuff in it that had nothing to do with the topic. That's why it didn't pass. And so a lot of the bills that, whether you're Democrat or Republican or Libertarian or whatever, that passed that you're, or didn't pass that you're upset about, they didn't pass, and they had stuff in there that was irrelevant.
Yeah.
You know, and the few politicians that took the time to actually read the bill realized, wait a minute, this has nothing to do with this bill. This has nothing to do with this bill. No, I'm not voting for this. Or they vote for it, but they know they can sneak what they want into becoming a law because they're the ones that put that part in that bill that had nothing to do with it. And another way to trick people, make the bill so long for the politician to read that they're like, the hell with this? This is I'm not reading this.
Right.
And
right. We see it locally.
Thank God for AI now to just
summarize
everything for you.
Just let AI write the bill.
Another thing, the presidential power has been diluted ever since FDR, and here's why. When FDR got elected to a fourth term, okay, if he had lived, that would have been 16 years. People became afraid in Congress that he would have more power than them. He didn't at the time, but they were afraid of that. So they thought, well, we'll limit it to 2 terms. That way they can keep from becoming, you know, a Met House power.
Right.
I'm against that because Congress doesn't have to agree with the president. I don't care how long they've been in power. I don't care how many terms they've served. They can strike down anything the president, you know, introduces. This was just a way to dwindle the power of the executive branch.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't be an obstruction to the legislative branch, and they can have the most power. And if you look at most of the things we're complaining about, we're acting like a president where it's Harrison Trump or Chase Oliver or Cornel West can resolve everything. No, Congress still holds all the cards. You want to blame the inflation on someone? Blame it on Congress. They did not have to agree with Biden or Harris did. They could have said no. They didn't. They went along with them. We do not place enough blame on the House of Representatives or the Senate, and we need to start doing that because they have the most power. But they want people to think the president has the most power, the Supreme Court has the most power. No, you guys do.
That's right.
You guys vote in all this stuff. You guys run the economy. You could have stood up against any president, no matter who was in power, and went, no. That's all you had to do. And the president, president can veto, but guess what? Then Congress can veto it, and it's just back and forth forever, and nothing is done. So do not be fooled. But Congress has the most power. So no matter who is elected, when this whole election is over, Congress holds all the cards.
That's it.
I want people to know that.
That's true. Well, y'all, we reached our time, and we'll be back in a couple of weeks. But we've been on the political spectrum. We'll see you all next time, and make sure you tune in to all the other podcasts on Our Black Media. Y'all have a great week now.
Bye-bye.
See you.